I actually started out making decoys to hunt over, and using a rasp, old wood rasp, and carving knife, and a lot of sandpaper and a lot of oil paint. And I made my own decoys and hunted over them at Reelfoot Lake. That's where I got the inspiration to carve the life-size bald eagle behind me, watching the eagles fly at Reelfoot Lake. And that's a rasp master, and that's how I got into doing carving.
Dee Moss is an extraordinary artist, capturing nature in and through wood. His shop is the White Gazebo, which sits right in the center of Casey Jones Village.
My daddy would carry me fishing every weekend, and as long as we made it back for Sunday service. And so we actually hunted and fished basically all over the Mississippi River, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi. We hunted and fished all those areas, and he gave me a respect and love for outdoor. And many times we fished in some of the areas that were very remote. My dad was he was not physically extremely strong, but he was very adventuresome. And of course, as a little boy, I just fell right into that. And we fished areas that most people wouldn't even try to get to. And a lot of the scenes I saw, it was like I took a photograph of the pieces of the scenes I saw, and they never went away. And so some of the carvings I've done are pieces that I've actually seen, and it just locked in my memory. That's why most of the masterpieces that I do are like you've taken it's not just the bird, but it's like you've taken the scene out of nature and put it together.
Dee is a rasp master. That means much of his work is done with a rasp, a carving knife, sandpaper, and paint.
This is just a real rough rasp right here, and then the old one that I used was this right here. Now that's the original rasp. It's just an old half-round rasp, and I used that. And the eagle behind me was made before I found out about the power carving. So it was made with all primitive tools. And I had world-class competition artists say you can't do that without power tools. But I was able to use this rasp and a carving knife, which I have, I've kept it. And of course it took tons of sandpaper. And I did use a disc sander to cup out the wings. So I did use a power disc sander to cup out the wings when I was carving it. And then from that, I just used an old burning tool. The eagle behind me took 6 years to complete it, and that was working almost 40 hours a week. It was a piece that was just, at the time I was doing it, I was enjoying making detailed pieces, and I was enjoying carving it. My girls were young, and they would play on top of it when it was first being carved. And then when I started getting it detailed, they didn't mess with it anymore. But that's how I got into carving. That's why I did the world-class competition piece behind me and did all the carvings that I'm doing now, a lot of them commissioned pieces.
Dee describes his style as heavy-handed, meaning he likes a lot of detail, which requires deep engraving.
This is what I start out with. And I do a bottom cut, then a side cut, and then a head cut. And sometimes I'll do this out of one piece of wood if I've got a piece large enough. And I'll just do it just like this, top, side view, and top view. Then that gives me a block shape. Then from that, I start rasping it down. And from rasping it down, I start shaping it up. You can see where I've started shaping it up here, taking off the round corners. A lot of people that I've taught to carve, I tell them when you're working on a decoy or a bird, you just think bullet. Doesn't make it look like a bullet, because the body shape is usually a round, spherical, or an oval shape, and then you add detail. Of course, that's simplifying it, but it's easy when you're teaching other people to do something like this. But anyway, I start off with a block, then I cut it out, then I start shaping it. And then after I shape it, here's a head example right here. Started out with a block, cut the head out, then I started shaping it, and I've got the shape down on this piece pretty well. It's ready for what's called detail. The detailing work, then after I get to that stage, it would be like this right here. And I carve in the detail right in here. After I carve in the detail, I go back and I start burning in even more detail. And you can kind of see some of the detail. I make it look like actually the shafts and feathers on the bird. On this bird right here, you can really see the detail taking shape on this. Now this is a commissioned piece I'm doing for a gentleman here in Jackson, and you can see the detail, the shafts and the feather, and the individual feathers, and then even the barbs are detailed out in the feathers. And of course, this is going to be a greenhead mallard. You can see the curlicue right here on the back.
Dee's carvings reflect a scene snatched from nature. Many represent a favorite memory, and every detail is carved and fashioned from wood.
One of the carvings, which is a little wren sitting on top of a coffee can. My girls, when they were younger, were going spelunking in a cave. And I was too big to get in with all the kids, so I stayed outside. And while they were in there, I was watching a little wren going back and forth under a little pile of brush and stuff where people would throw trash out. And as I got down and crawled up on it, I could see the little eggs that this wren had laid in a can. Half of a can is buried in the mud. And looking at those little eggs, I would try to put my finger to touch them, and she'd turn around and sit on that coffee can and just defy me to get any closer. And then when I would take my hand away, she'd turn sideways, and she would allow me to look as long as I didn't move my hands. Well, that was something, of course, that just locked in my memory, and so that's been one of my major carvings. And to see a hummingbird nest is pretty rare, but I had an opportunity to see several and see how they were made and that type of stuff. And since then, I've gotten some photographs from it. But I do use a lot of photographs so I can get the images as close to perfect as possible. When I start turning the heads and that type of thing, it throws a different aspect into all of it. And the different aspects, are what makes a masterpiece, or what makes the carving look real. And that's why every piece I do, I try to put some type of a turn in it, or a little something like it's actually in nature. And then this piece right here will be accompanied by a female, and then it will be set in a setting like I'll use driftwood, and then I'll come back and even carve maybe some leaves or grass. And I've got one piece that's a blue-winged teal, and it's a completed piece with full detail, and it's got the grass and everything, and it was actually carved. It's all wood carving. We're all spiritual beings, and I am a Christian. The perfection that I find in these birds when I'm observing them in creation is unmistakably something that a person couldn't imagine it. You couldn't think it up. And being an artist, I think in colors, I think in shapes, I think in designs, and a lot of the designs that are put together in nature, you would never do it. You wouldn't, as an artist, you'd never put the designs and shapes and colors and textures together. But God was able to do it and make it all look right. And when I was doing the eagle behind me, the contour of the feathers, the way each feather was made, I tried to duplicate it as close as possible. Well, I was working on the wing, and I had just gotten the shape of the wing, and I had it laid out, and the wings are separate. And as I laid out the wing, I had a fan blowing on it, really to keep me cool and to blow the dust away. And I turned around, and the wing had actually become airborne on my work table. And it was floating like that, and of course, it scared me to death because I was a few feet away from it, and I was afraid it was going to just blow off the table. And of course, I quickly ran over there to try to catch it, and as I got to it, I could see it continually, actually drift in just the breeze of that fan. And The satisfaction of doing a piece, also seeing how perfect creation is and how perfect God was and how much He cared for us. As an artist, you know, I really enjoy showing my pieces, letting people see them and purchase them, and it sounds terrible, but brag on them. You know, if I do a piece for a person and the person doesn't brag on it or doesn't really see the extra work I put into it, then I'm a little bit disappointed. But that's why I go to a big extreme to make sure each piece I finish far exceeds the price that was paid for it, because I want that person to feel that, wow, I really got something great here. That's the kind of satisfaction I get out of it, is seeing something that I've done, that God's helped me do, and that's His creation to begin with. And although I've got a lot of flaws in the pieces, overall they're fun to do because they're beautiful. You know, your mind thinks of the real thing instead of just the carving.
Dee shares his space with tourist information, so he also gets to help people enjoy the state of Tennessee.
Being raised in the South and with parents that were very open and very friendly, you know, anybody that came to their house, they're part of the family. And so I'm the same way with people that come through here as visitors. And I learned a long time ago, as visitors, when they come through, you never know what kind of trip they've had so far. And so if you treat them, give them something special, make them feel like, hey, I am so glad you're here. They're special people that travel that far. And when you do that, then even the troubles that they had on their way kind of smoothed over a little bit. And being a friend, being of the South, everybody walks in through this door as my friends. And being able to share with them and help them wherever they're going or whatever they're doing. My life has been a hoot, you know, and I've had the same problems as everybody else has had, but it's just been exciting to get to meet a lot of different people from all over the world and get to share with them and show them some of my artwork, and a lot of them will purchase some pieces and take them back, and I've shipped pieces actually all over the world, you know, and it's been incredible.